Alrighty, we're recording now. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, guys. I think it's episode 8 today. I'm here with a very prestigious strength conditioning coach, from North Queensland. Probably one of the best up there. Probably one of the best in the state, actually. And Kahn Stephenson from Against The Grain. Welcome, Kahn.
Thanks, my man. What an introduction, hey? To talk about going with the flow before the session starts and then pumping the tyres up.
I can see you've strategically placed those trophies in the background there too.
You see that? That's weird.
Well,
it's not mine directly, but
you claim it though.
I claim it though. They win it, and I'm like, okay, that's mine now. But good job though. Like, I'll give you a shake of the hand. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, man. So as you said, I'm a strength coach from up here in Central Queensland in Mackay. Primarily, we coach powerlifters, strength athletes. We work with bodybuilders and stuff as well. Mainly, at the moment, working with a lot of powerlifters, man. I think we've got about 25, 26 powerlifters we're working with at the moment directly. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm just breaking into, as I was talking before about, with the shot put world as well. So at the moment, working with juniors, much like yourself, that like 12 to 15 bracket of years old. And it's awesome, man. Like, those guys are so attentive to detail and they just love like knowing stuff. Like they're not just, it's not just training for them, but they really enjoy knowing what they're doing and why they're doing it. They want to understand it. So it's new for me because I've primarily haven't worked with a lot of juniors, only with like rugby league and stuff like that. And it's usually in the off season, the centers and like locks is primarily what I work with. And that's mainly just a lot of strength work, a lot of strength conditioning work. Not so much the agility side of things. They usually work with their coaching staff here with the cutters in Mackay, their Q cut team. And the junior stuff with Coach Curtis has worked with like the Warriors and stuff. So, but I do mostly like big movements. Teach them how to move properly: squat, bench, deadlift, overhead pressing, bent over rows. Carrying overhead carries, doing the contralateral work, all that sort of stuff. So, it's really cool, man, because I get to see the pathways of where they start with their, not just strength, man, but movements, and then progressing through that. And, right from that 12 to, at the moment, my oldest client is 58 years old. So that's also pretty cool too.
I think that's something that really drew me towards working with a junior athlete, is because you can kind of instill into them proper movement techniques before they get too strong and get too strong in the wrong movement pattern, if that makes sense. So if you get them at a younger age, like that 12, 13, 14, 15 age bracket, if you can teach them how to hinge properly, teach them how to squat properly, by the time they get to 18 and they're lifting some decent weight, they're not doing decent weight in a poor technique, and
for sure
minimizing the risk of injury there.
Man. 100%.
There you go. Keep going.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Like, I've got this young guy I'm working with at the moment, Trace. Trace Beatty, his name is. He's like, man, like, being picked for Queensland juniors and stuff, like really like talented footballer. And I'm doing like all his like strength conditioning work at the moment, just like leading back into football. And strong man, like naturally, like most athletes, pretty adept in the skill of strength, and he's like the biggest thing with him is just teaching him how to hip hinge properly. The other day he was sitting down, I was like, are your hips an extension or flexion? He's like, extension. I was like, fuck, okay. Like, nice. Like, and like he understands like knee flexion and squat, and basically like when we're not squatting the deadlift and stuff like this, like he's really good at understanding that sort of stuff. And whilst he's made like considerably pretty good strength gains, he's also made huge movement gains too, so when he does his overhead carries and stuff like that, he's focusing on like full extension through the elbow, and so he understands that it's not so much resistance training, like anatomical sort of training, it's more so neurological training, so he understands the difference between the two and understands that they're equally as important as each other too. So I'm really enjoying working with kids, to be honest.
Absolutely. And trying to shift their mindset away from just how much weight they can lift and get them out of that typical bodybuilding mindset, working with athletes. They just want to lift the heaviest thing they can and they want to feel the muscle. It's not always about lifting the heaviest weight. Yeah, that's it. You don't end up like us.
And then someone like finally grabbed us and was like, hey, like, don't do that. And we're like, oh, you sure? Yeah, okay. I'm going to do it anyway.
We'll touch on that. I first met Kahn think I've only met you once or twice in person, actually. First met
Yeah,
Kahn
yeah,
down at the Junior Nationals powerlifting
yeah.
competition in Melbourne, Hawthorn, I think it was.
2016 or something.
Geez, was it that long ago?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
crazy, yeah. Now I'm
Holy,
bald, so that's
it's
funny.
gone fast. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Khan's a incredibly strong guy. He's gone on to continue with his powerlifting stuff. I've kind of stepped away from it for a little bit and trying to get back into it a little bit now. But yeah, Khan's definitely the guy to go to if you've got any powerlifting needs. So yeah, tell us a bit about how you got into powerlifting, Khan, and any sporting background other than powerlifting.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate that. So we basically, much like yourself, played rugby league all my juniors. You know, from about when I was late. I was a late starter in that sense. Like I was 12 years old when I first started, because we lived in like country Melbourne, and then we moved up to Queensland. So rugby league on down there is not very big. You know, it's more AFL and stuff. And to be honest, man, I would just play. I was in the chess club. I didn't even play sport. You know, I didn't even lift weights. Like I wasn't even interested. I was focusing on academics because of the school I went to. It was very like, that was like really driven into us. Like there was no one that played sport. If you played sport, you were like, you know, we were like the nerds were like the jocks of the school, you know what I mean? So it was totally the opposite, and it was really good experience. But then when we moved up to Townsville, you know, just being a bit taller and stuff like that, my grade 7 teacher said to me, because he was the coach for our like opens team at school in Nuremberg, and he basically said to me, he's like, man, what do you think about having a bit of play of footy? And I was like, oh yeah, cool. So I was like, I don't really know how to play. I couldn't even spiral a ball for like a year. Like,
I still can't.
yeah, like I'm like right to left's good. Am I still my left to right now? I was throwing the footy around the other day with like the neighbours, and yeah, terrible. But nothing's changed. But yeah, so yeah, played that, man. Then I made the Townsville team. Then I made the NQ Merit team that year. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not too bad at this. So I continued with it, man. You know, went on to like play for Townsville and like NQ and all that sort of stuff. And then went to Kerwin in my final years of footy. So no doubt we probably played against each other along the way anyway.
What year did you graduate? 2012?
Yeah,
Yeah,
2012.
same as me, yeah. Now,
Yeah,
I
so
think we did play against you, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, well, to be honest, man, I was a bit of a misfit too. So whilst I was there to play footy, I didn't really play a lot of footy because I was always in trouble. So, yeah, like the games that, like, you know, we versed like Wavell, Iggy Park, you know, the not St. Helens, one of the Cairns schools up there that were in like the Super 8s, I think it was called when we were playing. Okay. Super 8s, or the Aaron Payne Cup. So yeah, so played and all that sort of stuff, and then yeah, basically after that, man, I basically moved to Mackay to continue playing football and stuff like this. And my manager at the time was like, you know, we need to, basically what was being said was they want to see me in a strong A grade club, and then potentially, you know, look at signing and stuff after that. Came to Mackay, really enjoyed the football here. Man, we had a tough team, very tough, like really good squad. We had like Grant McValley playing, and, you know, just some freaks like ex-NRL players and stuff like that. Now, like A-grade team, they were carving up. So I played a little bit of A-grade, mainly juniors still, like under 18s. And then what happened was I had basically just lost love for the sport, man. You know, just enjoyed being around the boys and that comradeship and, you know, the discipline that you learn from rugby league. But as far as the actual playing of it went, like I kind of just lost touch with it and lost base with it a little bit too. And that led me on to, you know, having like 3 concussions in like 4 weeks and stuff like this, and just doing silly things like, you know, get drunk like the night before games, and, you know, all the stuff that you 100% should not be doing, and things that we like, you know, really push onto the kids that we work with now, you know. So kind of hit a bit of a low and was like, fuck, I don't know what to do, you know what I mean? And then I had a mate of mine who just I actually met through South, like the club I was playing for. And he said to me, he's like, why don't you come do some powerlifting, you know? Because I was just like, man, we didn't like do any back squats. All we did was like front squats, trap bar deadlifts, and incline bench press. That's like all we ever did. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like I thought like, you know, from the social media and stuff, like this has only gone back, 5 years ago. It's so crazy how much it's changed now. I was like, I don't know if I'm strong enough, you know, like I'm like 100 kilos and I can only bench this and all this sort of stuff. And then basically was like, okay, I'll come in for a session because his name's James Gilman, very strong dude. You know, he's like Scott's 300 plus, deadlift 300 plus, and bench is like 225, I think now in the 130s in GPC. So yeah, like really strong dude, man. And basically walked in, and then I knew Dean Ilgath, who was the NPL like president, who's the Australian record holder in the bench. Heaviest bench I think he's done is 250 in the 110s. Yeah, incredible. Hey,
That's that guy
so
you
I was
train
like
with all
walked
the
in.
time, eh?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and like
Oh,
it's so
man, he's a
funny.
freak. He's a freak.
Yeah, we were talking about it before, how like we think we're strong, and then we train people like that. We're like, oh man, we're nowhere near the spectrum. Like,
That's it.
yeah. And I think for me, that's like the best part, man. I get to train with like guys that are really strong, and like not just in Mackay or like Queensland, but just like, you know, Australia wide as well, and get to go to like the big events like Pro Raw and stuff like that. So it's always a very humbling experience walking into the powerlifting room. But basically, yeah. So I was one of the boys said to me in there, he was like, man, why don't you just like throw yourself in the deep end for a comp? So I was, okay, let's do it. And I was like 4 weeks out and didn't really have any back squat experience, no real bench press experience, and deadlifts weren't too bad because trap bar, you know, it has a carryover to the conventional deadlift. So it wasn't like I was completely new at walking into, you know, hip hinging position or, you know, going into, like flexion through the knee and extension through the hip and stuff like that. So it wasn't like I was new to these movements. It's like it wasn't like I never done it before, but I definitely had limited experience in those specific movements. It's like I've been doing variations the whole time, you know, like, so yeah, I ended up doing that comp. I weighed 104 kilos and I think I actually benched more than I could squat. How fun is that? So I squatted 140 kilos. I benched 147 and a half and I deadlifted 225. And then went on like 6 months later to squat 200, bench 155, deadlift 245. So I could finally squat more than what I could bench. That was a very rewarding day. And that's actually where we met. And I think you beat me in that comp too. I actually think you beat me both times we competed against each other. Because I remember the second time Elias and Damien Horn were like trying to have little bets on who was going to win between us because you were like Cairns and I was Townsville. Yeah.
That was tough that day though, man. I remember being absolutely freezing cold. I think we competed like 8 in the morning or something in Melbourne, middle of winter.
Yeah. And Wayne was a 6.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, it was freezing. And then remember I like was like bragging about the day before. I was like, yeah, man, like I'm like 103 kilos. I can start eating up. Yeah, I'm good. And then I had pho and I was like 106 at weight. I was like,
wow.
Yeah.
I remember
just retard.
Me and my mate, he lived at the Gold Coast at the time and I was obviously up in Cairns. We travelled down together and stayed together. And we're walking around Melbourne the day before. I think we did something like 35,000 steps the day before. I think shit, we'll be way underweight here. Like we might as well just like eat whatever we want. And then that night the night before, we got back to the room. I brought my scales with me, so I jumped on the scales. We were both over by about 2 kilos. I'm like, fuck, man, what are we gonna do? So we went out for dinner. Both our partners they ate dinner like normal and had drinks like normal. We shared a orange and kangaroo salad or something like that. Had a few bits of kangaroo each and a peel of orange each, and then that was it. And then just hope for the best. Well, luckily we both weighed under it at weigh-in, so lucky in that regard.
Man,
I guess.
That was crazy. That comp. I remember like the first time that we did junior nats together. There was like Ricky Crouchy and stuff that were competing, and they were just like freaks, like Michael Randall and stuff.
Yep.
And then the second time we did it, there was like the new fight of like guys coming through that were, you know, where we were the year before.
Yeah.
And man, there was some strong dudes at that. Like it was like the top 3 at that junior nats. I think I've got 6 and you got 5th.
Yeah.
And I think that like the top 3 for that, they were like went on to do the opens and like all got top 3 in that as well. So crazy. Like just the potential that was in the 105s that year was outstanding. And you had Big Morgan and Dominic who like came through and just like benched the house down. I think he benched like 180 or something at like 22 years old. He's an absolute man child. Hey,
he did it easy too.
Yeah, I see. Like he's still training now, bro. He's an absolute beast. Hey, he's like he's someone that like, you know, part like yourself that I still keep in contact with, like from those days and stuff. And he's a good dude and strong. Hey, like very strong man.
For those of you that are listening that aren't real familiar with powerlifting, both Kahn and I competed in we did compete in the 105 kilo weight class. So what that is, what that means, sorry, is the day that you compete, you have 2 hours before your first lift. You got to be below that weight class in order for you to compete. And generally what happens is you train at about one or a couple of kilos above your weight, and then you cut down weight as you lead in towards your competition day. Some people do it smarter than others. Some people will be 2 days out and be 108 kilos and try and, or even 109 kilos, so like 4 kilos above 2 days out, and make it really hard for yourself. And generally what happens is people starve themselves and they don't drink water and ultimately cramp up and either underperform or can't perform on comp days. So that's definitely it's definitely a skill in itself, and I think that's definitely where having a coach like yourself, Kahn, is really important. I was lucky enough to have Elias from Iron Strength up in Cairns. Super great, really great guy. Both him and Jax helped me heaps. I was brand new to the powerlifting sport and I knew nothing. So all I knew was how to pick up weight that was kind of heavy sometimes.
Me too.
They helped me with everything else. So shout out to them.
That's the thing. Yeah, for sure, man. And they're good people. I've actually gone up there a couple of times and spot unloaded and stuff, and at their comps. So they're good people, man. One of the good guys in the sport for sure. I definitely, man. We've all made those mistakes where we're water loading and then you don't take a diuretic like dandelion leaf or something like this, like just to help with basically get you to pee more essentially. And we've all made those mistakes. And I think the biggest one is lessons that I've learned from being an athlete myself, and much like yourself too, Tim, like we've gone through the mud and then we've come out the other side and then we don't go through the mud ever again. So I think that's when we not only put our athlete coach hat on, but also put our coach hat on. I know with myself, like little things like I don't have like any athletes that will alert anymore, because we get them and we work with the right people to make sure that they're getting all their nutrition in throughout their prep that they need to. Keeping carbs high, not like, doing the fad diets that go around, all that sort of stuff, and making sure that they're working specifically to walking, high protein, high carb, moderate to low fat diets, and stuff like this, especially for powerlifting. So that way, if they do need to cut a little bit of weight, 2 days out, 3 days out, they can just halve their carbs and they're going to lose 2 to 3 kilos of water weight, depending what their body weight is. But, like my 75 kilo guy that I've got, he's the Australian bench press record, whole I was telling you about before. 75 kilos, pressed 155 in March this year. And it was pretty easy. He's pressed more than that since, and I won't say too much because we're going for the opens in December. So yeah, he's on track. But man, like with him, all we did was like 3 days out, he was 78 kilos, and I said to him, halve your carbs, he was on 480 grams of carbs, so we just halved that to 240, which is still a lot when you're not training, especially at that body weight, and then like not moving around at all. Like I'm just telling him to stay at home and not like do too much. And the next day he was like 77. The day after he was 75.2. And then he was like, what do I do? Like when I do it, I might just have a big glass of water and go to bed, have a little bit of fruit, a bit of protein, that's it. And then woke up the next day at 74.2 kilo. So just doing those measurements right and making sure that, accountability and like performance, like sometimes, as we know, isn't always linear. It doesn't always just go like this. Sometimes it's like here, dips a little bit, comes back up and stuff like that. And I think the biggest reason to the success of our athletes through our coaching, but also like, primarily on them, man. Like I'm like the Will Smith and the Jade, the photo, how he's like this to like, just showing her off, you know what I mean? I try and instill into them that, yes, I'm here as, your coach, but I'm a guide, it's completely up to you whether you want to do it or not. I'm not a babysitter. You don't hire me to be a babysitter. I teach you the skills and I help you reinforce those skills through mindset and, understanding that why you're doing things and stuff like this. But the biggest thing for me is that the biggest success that we've seen with our athletes is those that really put themselves in like the mangroves in the mud and kind of work through what they have to then get on the other side of that, almost like the light at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big part of that is, like you were telling me earlier before we started recording, was having a multifaceted approach, I guess. So you're now working with a dietitian as well. So you're sticking within your lane and letting other people work their specialty to help this one athlete. And that's something that I'm massive on. People ask me all the time for nutrition advice, whatever it is. 100% of the time, without a doubt, I will say, don't talk to me about that. Go see someone that's a professional. That's not my field.
100%.
I'm like, first of all, I don't feel comfortable in, I guess, providing that information, but then also the information that I provide is also inaccurate because I don't know 100%. I have a rough idea. I have a really good rough idea, but I don't know exactly. And that's where sending someone to a sports dietitian or a nutritionist is really beneficial. Especially within powerlifting, where you got to meet a certain weight class. Fighting as well is another good one. If you got to be at a certain weight to perform optimally, you need someone there to be in your corner to tell you exactly what you need to do. Having coaching from all different levels, or all different, I guess, directions, is the way to go. You look at any elite sport, they have nutritionists, they have sports, they have strength conditioners, they have physios, they have massage guys. They got everything.
100%.
So it's not just the one person doing everything. In saying that, though, sorry, you go.
Yeah, that's what, man. We have a huge network. Hey, like I've got a GP that we use for any scans we need to get done, any of that sort of stuff. So, like I guess like with myself, I've done like I went and did I guess like my official degree is like Bachelor of Health Science, and then did like all my like majors in like musculoskeletal therapy. So a lot of rehab, like I guess that's like kind of my original background, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then with that, man, like we've got, before our athletes train, they have this very specific warm-up routine they have to do, and that warm-up routine is going to be, 3 to 4 exercises. It's like a circuit sort of style training, like activation, but also some active mobility work, so not working through passive ranges, but working through activation ranges, and then trying to increase those active ranges as they continue on, and having like almost, I kind of have like a standard of how they need to be moving before they lift. So if they're like, one of my favorites is like an elevated kettlebell, like Romanian, but with a band tied at the hip. So you're having to like fight resistance, having to like lock in through the scapula or retract the scapula. And as you're coming down, making sure that you're feeling it through your hamstrings, not your lower back, a little bit in the TFL and stuff like that. So really using those sort of measurements as a gauge of, okay, 1, am I ready to lift yet? And 2, how am I feeling for the day? And if they're finding that, and it's one of those times in powerlifting, you just got to lift it. It doesn't matter if you're feeling a little bit tired and stuff like that. You've got to get underneath that bar still. And I think that's like the mindset as well. It's like rugby league. You feel a little bit shit that week, you've still got to play. You don't really have a choice in that matter. And I think that's where I think the reinforcement of that, not so much positive mindset, man, but like resilience comes into the sport. It's like, oh, not everything's moving well today and stuff like that. But they're the kind of sessions that you'll find really help characterize lifter, and really build that character up too. So, but yeah, we have a whole network, man. We've got GPs. I have 2 different GPs that we work with. One specifically for blood work, especially for like the bodybuilders and stuff post competition, especially females, just to see where everything's at. They have to do that before they compete, and obviously on all that sort of stuff as well. We have a dietitian. We also have my fiance, who's a nutritionist. So we've got all that sort of stuff. Then we also have physio, Sam Dunn at Lively Physiotherapy, who we use for any sort of specific stuff. He's a fellow physio, so it's like one of the creme brulees of like physiotherapy in his industry. And we have like a whole bunch of people that we reach out to, and that's something that I would love to stress to a lot of like young coaches and stuff coming through is I think we've all tried to be that guy that does it all. We've all tried to be that one person, and what we've quickly found out is that you can, like, if you're looking at like strength and conditioning or coaching across the board like this, you can be okay and good at all of this, or you could grab this and this and be really good at it. So really focusing, if you've got like 5 overview, if you've got 5 opportunities and you try and do all 5, you're probably not going to do the best, you're probably not going to get the best that you can to all 5. Yeah. But if you pick like 2 things, really get good at those 2 things, clients will come, 1, and then the second to that part is that you're going to get good results. Especially because you'll find with those 2, you start exploring through different avenues of education. You actually start, you have obviously, we have specificity, variation, frequency, we have all these things that are strength and conditioning principles that we pretty much have to adhere to, but you'll find your own way of strength training or coaching or strength conditioning, it doesn't matter what athletes you or, general population you're working with, you're going to find your own little style in that. It takes time, and like, look, if we talk in a year advance, like a year later, you're probably going to be totally different to our approach again, but that's the beauty of coaching, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a very dynamic process, I think, coaching. You can't get too bogged down in one specific technique or principle. Like a lot of guys I see at the moment are really big on Cal Dietz' triphasic training. And it's great, but it's not the be all and end all. Like it is a really good principle, and I understand like all the concepts behind it is great, but it doesn't work for your 12-year-old athlete that has never lifted before.
100%.
You can't be doing that. So, but
and that's like taking those advanced principles and trying to give them to someone that's not advanced. Absolutely. It's like, before we even talk about the things that we just spoke about, it's kind of like client assessment, so 1, their age, 2, their training age, and then 3, opposed to starting them where you are, how about you like start where they're at and then 100%. Work on building them up to where you are at the moment,
I don't even care about their training age, I don't even care about their chronological age, but the training age is probably the next thing that's most important. It's more just their movement capacity. If they can move well, that's when we can progress. If you can move well under load, then we progress even more. I don't care if you're 12. I don't care if you're 25. Yeah, like I've probably got some guys that are in my high school senior group that are 17, 18. A lot of them are doing very, very, very basic hinge movements just because they can't hinge properly yet. Versus I've got some female athletes that are 13, 14 that are incredible. Some of them are going to be stronger than me. I reckon within a year or two, they'll be lifting more than me. And that's just through them being able to move efficiently. Safely, ultimately.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Their sport isn't powerlifting. Their sport isn't doing an RDL. Their sport's rugby league. So it's not the be all and end all. It's like what Christian Woodford says all the time. Obviously, Christian Woodford, big dog in the strength conditioning industry in Australia. We all know him well. Well, me and you know him well anyway. Strength is a means to an end. Or strength training is a means to an end with a team sport or field sport athlete, any athlete really. What I wanted to touch on is how I noticed you do a lot of cupping and manual therapy stuff. How did you get into that?
Cool, man. So going back to, I guess, what I spoke about before with my degree, kind of like that was where I started, man. So that was actually what I started doing prior to coaching. We do dry needling, cupping, Grafton, deep tissue. I do basically, that's what I was trained in, I guess, prior to coaching. And that's actually what I was kind of doing when we first met as well. So it's, I guess, like my grassroots, and it's something that I still heavily enjoy. Like we have 2 businesses. So we have our coaching business, but we also have our rehabilitation business. So having that stability, background and like how those mechanisms work through like anatomical function, neurological function, dysfunction, all that sort of stuff, I think has really helped with the coaching side of things. But as far as like the coaching and also as far as like the cupping and all that sort of stuff, mainly for we have like GP referrals and stuff that we work through, like mainly post-surgery. So I don't really work with anyone during, I guess like immediate post-surgery. So like, AC Rico, I'm someone that they would get referred to, and that's like going back to like the physios and stuff that we work with and the GPs that we work with, 3, 4, like maybe even 8 weeks post-op, and I guess my role in that is usually the actual treatment side of things, like dry needling, cupping and, those sort of things, and trying to improve acute active range and basically helping them move better and basically giving them relief to pain. Where what the other side of that would be for the physio that they're working with, that would be their rehab management plan that they're working through with that. So I still do like rehab management plans, but that's only through GP referral if they're not already working with someone. But it's not, I guess, like my go-to in that sense, because I'm usually like the middleman between, like I'm like the add-on guy, you know what I mean? So it's not usually something, like it's usually my like coaching and this like musculoskeletal therapy work is my day-to-day work. But we do mainly at the moment, man, I'm doing a lot of dry needles. So a lot of like people coming with like bursitis and stuff like that. So giving them acute relief with that. Which is, it's always really cool, man. It's always very interesting to do. I actually want to do my master's in dry needling. It's like something that I wanted to do this year, but obviously with the COVID situation, it's
Corona
like
time.
mad dog, no mad dog, and not the good Corona type either, mate. So but no, so that's like my background, man, like my grassroots. It's something I enjoy and I will be like do forever kind of thing. But once again, with that, it's still like, and I have other coaches, athletes come to me for that, because I don't have a biased opinion to training. And if I do, I don't, launch it onto that athlete because that's not my job. My job is when they're coming in for that sort of stuff is to treat them, getting them moving better. Off they go, give their notes to their PT, trainer, coach, whatever it may be. And then that's me done in that scheme of things. I try and keep very professional in that light. Obviously, there's always going to be things that, like anyone, but there's going to be things that I do that people don't agree with. And that's cool, so always keeping that professional light because as we've spoken about before, I think it's our job to try and increase the industry standard, not only in what we know and how we do things, but also in professionalism as well.
Absolutely.
Especially as the younger guys coming through and, we all the people that we hopefully, the Dan Bakers and stuff that we talk about, hopefully that's going to be us in the next like 20 to 30 years, So, but yeah, that's like my grassroots, man. It's something I really enjoy. It's something that, I work on my own athletes and that sort of stuff. I've gotten to work on some really cool powerlifters as well, like Ryan Williams and Tim Krause and some of the big dogs in the 125s, like 950 plus totals and stuff like that. So, I've gotten to work with some really like cool people and continue to as well, So I think that's another aspect of the strength and conditioning industry that's allowed me to actually not so much push ahead or anything, man, but be able to make contact with people that previously I may not have been able to.
Yeah, cool. What was I going to say next? Oh, yeah, you touched on it at the start of the podcast and we spoke a little bit before. You're now working with is it the QAS you're working with the shot put guys, or is it, how do you get involved in all that?
So the Little Athletics, man, here in Mackay. So basically they're, like Little Athletics here in Mackay. They've got like a bit of an internship program that they like do every couple of years, I guess, and that sort of stuff. And I was seeing a few of them, not because they were coming to me by referral, but because, their friend from footy said, hey, this guy, go see him, he helps me out, like he helped my dad out or something like this. And then through that pathway, one day I just had this guy come in and his name's Dave. I find all these people that are like high in strength and conditioning or just like in management or something, all called Dave. I don't know what it is, the convention of Daves they all go to and they're generic, like, you're a manager. Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. You never see any Kahn or Tim. So we'll be there. But no, so basically this guy came in one day, Dave Parkins, who's the runs like the stuff in Mackay, and basically just came in and next thing, like for his shoulder, ran through, told me he had calcification, all this sort of stuff, and through supraspinata and all that sort of stuff. So I went through there. His active range and passive range is really good, and I was like, actually, I don't think it's that. I think you've just got acute bursitis and just some poor external rotation stuff. So gave dry needling, gave him some relief for all that sort of stuff. And it actually turned out that I was right. And he was just trying to see if I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
So, and then, he was just like, that's what it is. So, and then invited me to come down and there we went, man. So, basically it's like I'm doing like an internship. And that's something that I'd also stress is doesn't matter how good you think you are or what you think you know, getting to be around these guys, man, like it's the next level. It's so cool. Like, it's something that, as I said to you at the start of the podcast before we started filming too, like I really just want to like work with, where our business is going as well is like through that, strength sports specifically, and then the bodybuilding as well. And that's basically where we're at. And I love it, man. And these kids that are like 12 and 15 years old, like, cause that's the age bracket I'm working with. They're just like little freaks, eh? They're so strong. They understand everything. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, I think I was telling you before, like, this kid just like to me, he was like, so you had like acute anterior hip pain on the front, on the right side. And I've told him, like, if you get that, then do this. And, here's this exercise. It's like a supine bend and pull, but with a crunch, and focusing on like stacking the ribs.
Yep.
So you know, and this is like a 12-year-old kid I'm saying this to, you know, and then he messages me the other day. I think it was like Monday this week or Monday the week before. That was Monday this week. And he's like, hey man, you know, didn't even message me about, hey, this hurts. What do I do? He just did it, you know, like he just did it. And I was like, like, if you would have told me that at 12, I would have been like, yeah, I'm just going to push through it. Like, you know, and these guys they're just next level, man. And for me, the best part about working with this sort of stuff isn't, it's what I'm going to learn, but it's also, I've felt like for a while now, there's something I'm missing, you know, like I know this, and this, but the bridges between them are like, you know, they're there, but they're wooden, they're a bit rickety, you know, where I feel like this is something that's going to help me, you know, progress into like a Sydney Harbour Bridge in between all of them, you know. So it's something that I'm really enjoying. I'm only like 2 months into it, of 12 months. And then, yeah, but I'm really enjoying it, man. I'm working with a different demographic again. I'm getting to work with, I never had an appreciation for working with juniors previously as to what I do now. I always was like, we definitely need better coaches like yourself, and you're someone I'd heavily recommend for that, seeing the work that you do and how you talk to your kids. And they're not really kids, they're like young men and women now, you know, so, and how you approach that, you know, I think I always had the appreciation there, and it was always something like, you know, you need to get the right people in there. I just never thought that was going to be where my role in the industry would end up leading into either, you know.
I think what you've done is a really good thing is gone out and you've been the smartest person in the room for a long time, but if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to go into a new room. You know what I mean? You can only get so far on yourself, and that's where taking up internships under smarter guys is beneficial in any regard, really.
And they're awesome, man. They're awesome.
For myself, like I did a little bit of time with the women's Brisbane Raw there for a little bit, and some of the stuff I learnt there, I was only there for 4 or 5 weeks and just couldn't continue to commit just because of work commitments and everything else was going on. That 4 and 5 weeks was probably, I learned more in that period than I did in probably my 3 or 4 year degree. In some cases anyway.
Huge.
So
huge.
Yeah, going out and just offering your time. And I think like message to young coaches, even myself going back, I kind of turned down a lot of opportunities. I thought, oh yeah, I don't want to really work for free. I've done a lot of work for free. Like I did do a lot of work for free, but I also turned down a lot of working for free. I mean, when I first started at Palm Beach Currumbin High School on the Gold Coast, I worked with their strength conditioning department there for about 2-3 years.
Yeah,
getting paid barely anything. Peanuts actually. Wasn't barely enough to cover my petrol to get down there. But I was working with athletes from grade 7 all the way through to grade 12. Sports like rugby league, AFL, soccer, kayaking, track and field. I've seen in a week I'd see over 500 kids, and every one of those kids learnt differently and were at different strength levels and had different mobility capacities, and just the diverse range of people that I was exposed to, or individuals I was exposed to, and forced me to adjust my coaching practice to suit each one of those kids in a different way. And that's something that I think if you were to just go out on your own and have 1 or 2 people working for you or working with you, you kind of get stuck in that, like, this works for this person, so this must work for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now that I'm studying to be a teacher as well, I'm learning a lot about how people learn, just the psychology of how people learn. And then I'm taking that back towards my coaching, and I'm seeing reaping the benefits tenfold. Just on how I can adjust my way of talking to people, not alone, not just your coaching ability, like just talking to people and understanding how they listen, body language, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was really good what you're doing. Absolutely. Was there any like podcasts or books that you listen to or read that have helped you kind of get to where you are now with what you know? Obviously, you know a lot about your manual therapies and also your strength and conditioning principles. Was there anything that you kind of draw on the most?
For sure. I think, man, you know, like we all know who Mike Rizzutel is. You know, if you don't, that he's definitely someone that we should all look to, or Dr. Mike Rizzutel, I should say. Man, he's, I'll tell you what, like as far as like, just like keeping up to date with studies and knowledge and stuff, they're a really good resource, you know, because they are most of the time, they fund most of the top end studies for like strength and conditioning in the world at the moment. so they're really good. I'll tell you what, like, he's got like a lecture series on like critical thinking and stuff like this. It's like eight lectures, and it's like, I think it's about an hour each one. Yeah, that was one of the best things I've listened to. Really enjoyed it. It was actually really cool because he actually talks about decision making. So it's not so much. And this is like Jocko, the ex-Navy SEAL guy as well. He's got a book called Extreme Accountability, and he touches on this in there as well. And it's like the process of decision making. So like, let's say you have that, you're cutting weight, you're 2 days out from a comp, and then you have to cut another 2 kilos. And let's say you have a bowl of ice cream. So, and you know that, in your plan, you've already eaten your calories for the day. You just need to have a glass of water and go to bed. Instead, you go and have your bowl of ice cream, and now you're 1,000 calories over. 1,000 kilos, 1,000 calories over.
I'd be 1,000 kilos over, absolutely.
Oh, bro, sign me up. Where we at? Can I move my weight? No. So basically, man, like, that process was already made, 24 to 48 hours. So he talks about like dopamine and like serotonin and 5-HTP and those processes, and it's really cool that he talks about that sort of stuff on like a biochemistry sort of level. But then he talks about it as like, hey, you're feeling. So it's like, 24 hours ago you woke up, you're getting sick of the cut, blah, blah, blah. Then at lunchtime you're thinking about what you're going to eat after, you weigh in and all this sort of stuff. And then he talks about the night before, you're sick of looking at, your veggies and your meat, or, your little bit of carbs. And then it's like the next day is when that decision's made. But the process of making that decision was like, 24 hours prior. Yeah. So that's been really helpful for me, not only as an athlete, but as a coach, to then teach that across to my guys, in the sense of, not like that, and I'm nowhere near as adept as what, Mike Israel is, but in that sort of stuff, or really any of the studies that he is in. But for me, I've been able to then simplify that over to my guys, in the sense of, if you're getting underneath the squat bar and you're like, you hate squats, then that decision was already made before you got underneath that bar. So how do we change that decision? So one of the things that I was doing with one of my guys, which was Farron Harold, he's the Australian bench press guy, and he's struggling with his squats, man. Every time, like, we just never had a good run with it. So something that we did was actually remove squats from his program for a little bit, and actually put in just like safety bars and stuff like that. So like variation work, building confidence through there. And then after that, it took time. We actually ended up spending like a lot of time together on his squats. So every squat day, I made sure I was in the gym there for him. And something that we actually did was I actually started getting him to squat 3 times a week. So, not heavy 3 times a week. It was like a heavy, high, low day. So like, one day it was like a heavy day. The next day was like high volume. The next day was like low volume, low weight. And basically getting him to squat like that, so he could just get underneath the bar and get more confident with the bar. And it kind of like put him in a position where now when he squats, man, he's just like a beast. He's like there. Also a lot of like psychology work, just in the sense of, I'm not a psychologist by any means, but or just working with like the process of driving to the gym, putting his favorite gym song on, when he gets to the gym, getting his sleeve straight out of his bag and getting into the squat rack, putting all his stuff at the squat rack, not away from the squat rack, at the squat rack. So we're committing to what we're about to do for the day. So just sort of processes like that have been really good, and good resources from like Dr. Mike Israel. There's another one called, another guy that I listen to is obviously like Eric Holmes.
Yep.
He's really cool. I like listening to him because he goes into strength conditioning stuff, but just his nutrition understanding is like really awesome. And it's just a really good like resource for that sort of stuff as well. Another one is the Revive Stronger podcast. Yep. From a UK dude. He has like all international like guys on there, man. Dan Baker's been on there before. He's had Mike Rusatale on there before, some pro bodybuilders and stuff. And it's just more so like with the pro bodybuilders and pro athletes he gets on there, it's a lot of insight, where with the actual coaches and stuff he gets on there, they do Q&As about like, microcycles, mesocycles, macrocycles. They go through like how you would stage like a year prep for an athlete, off season, pre-season, during season, post-season, all that sort of stuff. So there's some really good resources there. As far as books go, honestly, man, I haven't read a lot of books. Like when I basically stopped officially studying, I was like, I don't really want to look at a textbook anymore. So I listen to a lot of like podcasts. I've just actually signed up to the RP Plus on there, like the RP resonance periodization.
Yep.
I've just signed up to like RP Plus, and they've got like thousands of lectures on there. Hey, like a really good resource again. So I kind of just listen on to that on the way into work, and then when I get home, and then try and do an hour of that a day. At the moment, just like trying to get through. I'm going through like their advanced principles of hypertrophy at the moment, which is really cool. It just talks about different levels of periodization. And the processes through that, and then a lot of the stuff that I guess like I'm kind of already doing, but like once again getting that bridge between the two things and like bringing it together so I can obviously work with myself and work with my own clients a little bit better too.
Yeah, podcasts are massive for me, man. Like I reckon I listen to I try to do at least 2 hours a day of podcasts, and I've got that many subscriptions at the moment. I'm just flicking through every single day. I really like the boys from Melbourne Strength Culture.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff they put out is unreal, and it's very simplistic as well. So people that listen to this, they can jump on that podcast. You might have no background in any kind of training at all, and you'll be able to pick up what they're talking about. And
100%.
It's not that complicated.
No, they're good, man. Jamie's a pretty smart dude. He's done really well. I'm a big fan of what him and like the likes of Thomas Lilly have done with the coach development systems, bringing that standard up, and that's something once again that junior coaches coming through, because you go through this cycle, you get educated, then you think you know everything, then you're in the industry, and then you work with people that actually do know like almost not everything, but they know a lot. Then you work with people, and then you start getting clients that just aren't as linear as this. They have different issues, they have dysfunctions, they have whatever it may be, and then you realize that you know nothing. And then you go through that process where okay, it's okay to know nothing or know what I know. Like when I say know nothing, that's just that feeling of like not knowing what you feel like and then basically going shit, I don't know that much. I don't know as much as what I thought I did. And then you go through that like a bit of like oh man, and then it becomes that's okay, but what can I do to know more than what I know now? And I think that's
sorry
that's what I think anyway.
I was just gonna say, like, when you can realize that you don't know everything, that's a really important part of gaining knowledge. Like, as you said, you can be really confident in what you do know, and then when you do come up against something that you're like, oh shit, I don't know that. That's a really important part of developing that knowledge, so that understanding. Cool. I know you put up on your Instagram story if you had any questions for myself. Did you come up with any?
Man, I got a few.
First one. If you want me to give you some tips on how to cut your hair properly, just let me know.
Oh, mate, what about, bro? I'll tell you. Okay, so
might as well just admit defeat, man. Just shave it all off.
Oh, mate, I'm holding on, hey. And the thing is, like, I've had a receding hairline since I was like 12, bro. So I've got a 30th tonight and stuff as well. Like, it's good times up here. I'm looking like Shrek and Fiona at the moment. But basically, man, I did a 3 on the sides and then I did 6 on the top. I was happy I could do a little bit with it at the front. And then the grader came off.
Oh, no.
I just went boom. Yeah, so
Game over.
I've got a bit of a rat's tail at the back at the moment. I don't know, just a bit that I missed. But I've had heaps of people call me out on it, so now I can't get rid of it because that's admitting defeat, and I refuse to let other people make that decision for me.
Just embrace it, mate. There's business at the front, party at the back.
Yeah, I'm all party at the moment. So I think one of the questions I actually wanted to ask you, Tim, was you've just opened up your own gym in partnership, I believe, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. How was that process from going to coach to then gym owner and coach? How's that process been?
It's something that we're still developing and we're still learning along the way. Myself, Jules and Tyler, they're the main owners. I'm just kind of jumping along for the ride kind of thing. They've done all the renovations and everything along the way. And what we're trying to offer here at Iron Sharp is more of like a holistic approach to a few different things. So all the training side of things I'll look after. Jules and Tyler, their background's in social work. So we're offering like a mentorship program as well for at-risk youths. So they run those programs during the day, and then I come into the gym of an afternoon and start doing my training. We've also got a guy that's just joined us now who his background is in kickboxing and MMA. So he's going to run some kickboxing and MMA classes. So we're just trying to like cover a few different things all at once. And what we're also trying to get into eventually there's a space next door to the gym at the moment that's just come vacant. So we're looking at potentially getting that down the track. And what we're going to offer with that is a tutoring service, which I also run.
Yeah.
And part of our junior program is if we go to our high school senior program, for example, if their session's at 4:00, from 3:30 they'll be in the classroom with me. We'll do half hour of schoolwork, assignment stuff, tutoring, whatever they need to do, help with their school day. So they'll come straight off the bus. There's a bus stop right at the front of the gym. They'll come into the classroom with myself, and I'll help them for half hour, 45 minutes with any of their schoolwork, and then we'll jump in the gym. So, and that's going to be mandatory. Doesn't matter if you think you have no work, I'll give you work.
Yeah.
No one's perfect at anything, and particularly our primary I guess our primary sport at the moment is with rugby league athletes. And as you know, Kahn, like rugby league players have a bad rap of being the dumbest in the school. And I think we're both examples of that, where we're not necessarily the dumbest in the school. We're a little bit smarter than the average bear. So, and that's something that for myself, education's always been massive for me. And coming through the Bronco system and all that kind of stuff, education's been pushed on me massively, and I've always embraced it. Because I know myself, I knew from a young age that football was not going to last forever. And for myself, it didn't last forever at all. But these kids that are coming through now, they think football does last forever. And they think at 16, 17, even 14 years old, they're going to play NRL.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work like that. My very first day of under 20s, we sat in a big theatre. Coach stood up in front of us and said, out of this room, 2% of you will play NRL. Of that 2%, half of you will play more than 3 games.
Yeah.
That's pretty disheartening being an 18-year-old kid
Crazy,
thinking, oh shit, yeah, I've made it. Like I'm wearing all this Broncos kit, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You haven't made shit, really.
No,
and I think
nothing.
There's a few guys coming into first grade now that I've actually had stuff to do with their junior development, and they think they've made it. They haven't made it until they played 3, 4, 5 years consistently. And if you don't have an education to fall back on once that happens, it only takes one knee reconstruction, it only takes one shoulder reconstruction. It doesn't even take that. It can take a change of coaching staff, and you're over. So,
it's a brutal sport, hey. And
absolutely.
It's I love what you're doing there. That is probably, if I was to think of an idea on how that would like mutually, or like as we spoke about, like multifaceted coaching. And obviously with your teaching background and stuff as well, that's something you can like offer really well. Once again, touching back on that, like grabbing like a couple of things you can be really good at and just going, I'm just going to ride with that. And that's exactly what you've done here. That's awesome, man. And I think, that is a huge part of not only bringing the industry standard up for athletes away from training, but also with that coaching stuff and making sure that, you know, these kids, they're not just here to train, they're also here to improve other aspects of their life as well. Because as much as sport has taught both of us as far as like discipline and camaraderie and all that sort of stuff, it's also taught us a lot of things about failure, disappointment and stuff like that as well. And probably like some sentimental like ego stuff there too. So working with those athletes you're working with and doing that's awesome, man. I love hearing that. It's so cool.
Thank you, man. We're in the game of developing humans, not developing athletes.
I love that. That's awesome. I'm going to trademark that so I can have
you can use that one, mate.
10% royalty.
And like we've come through football systems and rep sides and whatever it is, and you always get told you don't get picked based on your ability, you get picked on your capacity as a human. A good bloke gets picked before a good player.
100%.
And you take that back into life as well. Like you can be the best at accounting, for example. But if you're a shit person, no one's going to want to see you to get their taxes done.
No. Can you imagine walking in and this guy's just abusing you? Like, oh, okay. And like, how good you are, I'm going.
Even doctors, man. Like I've been to doctors before, like GPs, sat down and they're just assholes to me. I'm thinking, mate, you're on whatever money you're on. You've been to uni for how many years you've been at uni, and you're a prick.
Yeah. I find it embarrassing, though.
It is.
I find it embarrassing, hey, because I'm like, imagine doing all that hard work to just feel entitled. Like, most of the time, man, it's entitlement, hey. Like, I know, and we can probably speak about this as well. Like, you know, you talk to people that aren't as open-minded as us in training, and, you know, their philosophies of how we coach and, you know, being a good person. You know, you talk to people, and this is something I've seen before with, you know, not having got doctors, because I've got two, like Dr. Asher Trust and Dr. Raj at Kahn Medical that we work with, gangster man, like my homeboys, I call them. One of them, he was like, Dr. Asher always gives me shit about my BMI being over, like, obese and then he lose weight.
Mass moves mass.
Yeah, and then I always tell him that he needs to come around the Stevenson household for a decent feed. And then, yeah, because he's a runner, he's a cool dude. But people like that like make the industry so important and so awesome. But then there's other people that just really use that sense of entitlement opposed to helping people help you, but at your expense, you know. Yeah. So they're doing it because they have to, not necessarily because they want to, you know, and they would just. I think that's the biggest one with that. And obviously being in our field, a lot of people could, you know, and we work with people and, you know, you work with like higher end GPs and stuff like that. Some of them just think our degrees is like a, you know, just an advanced personal training degree. They don't actually give a shit. They think it's just like, we're just PTs. And it's like, well, there's actually a lot more to what we do, you know, and it's just like saying to, you know, them, it could be like, well, you just give out medication. So are we the same in that aspect? But, and once again, it's not having a dig at any industry. That's just saying that I think no matter what your degree is, and I know some personal trainers there, and I'm like, oh, God, you're better than half the coaches I know. Yeah. And I just train general population. Yeah. And it's like, you know, it doesn't matter what industry or what degree you've got. I think the first thing we should focus on is being good people, and two, helping other good people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you listen to the podcast, High Performance Podcast with Angus and Oscar. So they're both PTs, and they're really smart dudes. I listen to their podcast religiously, and I take away a lot from them.
Yeah.
And then you have other PTs that do a 6-week online course and can't even coach a bodyweight squat. Like, it just blows my mind, the variability out there.
Just what you do with it, hey?
Absolutely. So yeah, back to that, like that education side of things, I think it's going to be massive for us as a business, but then also just giving back to the community. Jules and Tyler are massive in their community up here on the Gold Coast, and being Islanders or Polynesians, it's a lot of kids come over from New Zealand, unfortunately go straight to Kebra Park or Palm Beach Government or whatever rugby league school. I'm sure it happens up north as well. And
all the time.
They get to grade 12 and they haven't got signed by the West Tigers or haven't got signed by Titans, and then they're just like, well, what now? What do I do now? And they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, some go to jail. Unfortunately, some of them do commit suicide. And it's what we're trying to instill as well is there's more to life than your sport, and you have more to offer as a human than your sport. And that's something that I kind of, not necessarily struggled with, but realized a little bit once I left the Broncos system, where I thought for a long time whilst I was there, I think that there's more that I can offer as a person to the world in a broad sense than my ability to play football, than my ability to catch 100%. A ball and run straight into other people.
Yeah.
And being able to shift my focus in other directions was a challenge for me, and it's becoming easier, but it's a challenge every day. And it's kind of just changing that identity of yourself.
Sure, man.
Cool. Did you have any other questions for me before we move on to our top 5 questions for the day?
I will text you them.
Sounds good.
Just like Josh Chambers and a few of the boys, like just old powerlifting guys. I've known Josh for years and years, but I'll text you them. They're all for maybe coaches after hours corner.
Okay. Yeah, right. Alrighty. So 5 questions that we asked all of our guests. I can't remember which ones I sent through to you, but anyway, some of them require a bit more thinking. Some of them don't really require much thinking. First one. If you're on death row, what would your death row meal be?
Ooh.
But the catch is you
can't
say your mum's cooking, and you can't say your missus is cooking.
Oh, she's terrible anyway. No, I'm kidding. She's gonna listen to this and abuse me. Hey, I'll get smashed. South Sea Islanders, mate. I'll get home and she'll smash me up. I'm kidding. Man, apple pie and ice cream, bro. Ooh. And I'm gonna eat that until I cannot eat, until I'm sick.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going to wish I was on death row. So I can find ice cream for me and my man, and vanilla, and probably a little bit of the honey over the top. Vanilla, bro. You got to run vanilla with it. I'm telling you. Oof.
I'll tell you what, mate. I don't think anybody in the world could eat as much ice cream as I do.
I'm fine. I'm actually in the Gold Coast in 2 weeks. So.
Oh, we're on.
We're on.
Well, my wife will attest to this. I once sat and ate a 4-liter tub of ice cream in one sitting. And I don't think it took me that long, to be honest.
Yeah,
and I think it was vanilla. So it's
interesting.
Well, tasteful.
I'm going to start periodizing my ice cream habits, and I'm going to start 500 grams today. And then I'm going to add 250 grams every day.
don't forget deload. Don't forget deload.
Yeah, deload 2 days out.
Next one, favorite athlete or sports team and why? Can be current, can be past.
Sam Burgess, bro.
Yeah.
Sam Burgess.
How come?
Because the grit that he has, the honour, the discipline, everything that he has as an athlete is something that I think if every athlete had, we would. There's a reason why he's Sam Burgess. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why there's not 50,000. There's a reason why not every club has a Sam Burgess.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's a reason why all forward packs aren't Sam Burgess. Like, when he, pretty sure he broke a jawbone in the grand final, and he played the whole game with it. That's something obviously getting shivers about it now. It's not something I'd push onto my athletes personally, but that trait is huge. So the discipline, the respect he has for his teammates. Like, I remember an interview I watched with him. He's like, everyone thinks that he hates the teams that he's playing, but he's like, I just respect the other team so much that it would be disrespectful if I didn't give him my all. And to me, I just remember hearing that, going like, oh, fuck, this guy is next level. He's something else. And just his performance as an athlete, yes, but it's more so just upstairs, man. Like, he's. Like, when Sonny Bill Williams came back and everyone was like, oh, Sonny Bill Williams is going to smash Sam Burgess. Sam Burgess came out and just destroyed him, and just absolutely. And this is like Sonny Bill Williams, who's an actual athlete, like competed in multiple sports, done exceptionally well, and to come back to the NRL, and Sam Burgess, who had only been in the NRL for a couple of years at that stage, and compared to Super League, it's totally different. Like, the speed and the actual skill is different, as we know. And cleaning people up, like, you don't see that,
100%.
So for me, it'd be Sam, big Sammy B.
Sammy B. Next one, if you could have a dinner or a beer or a coffee with 2 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Okay, 2 different spectrums here. It would be Dan Bell, powerlifter, who just got the all-time world record.
Yeah.
2 reasons. I've heard he's loose on the beers, and loose on the beers, and just to see, he works in a manufacturing company and stuff, like, just to talk to him, man. Not so much about powerlifting, but just his life outside of powerlifting, because he's always in the limelight. And then the second person would probably be Tesla. The guy that invented infinite energy. I just want to find out if it was a conspiracy or not. That's my first question. I just thought, was it real or not? And FBI is now listening to this podcast. But but no, that's seriously, just to I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but it's just one of those ones that just doesn't add up. And from my little know-how of how conspiracies work, and I just love to find out if it was for reals or not.
I do not mind a conspiracy. Yeah, I love conspiracies.
I'm a bit of a closet guy with that. I've come out a little bit, and I don't voice my opinion too much on social media and stuff. But in the real lives of what we live day to day, I definitely let them come out. Hey,
I don't know if you listened to the episode of the Melbourne Strength Culture, and they talked about what if this is all a matrix? What if we're living in the matrix?
Oh, don't do it to me, bro. Mate. I'll be up all night. Don't do it.
I reckon I can't watch
shit past that.
I've listened to that 3 or 4 times, I reckon.
I can't listen to shit like that past 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Otherwise, I'm in bed and I'm going, shaking. Fuck, I hear a noise outside. I'm up a lot. Yeah, I can't listen to that sort of shit.
Alrighty, next one. If you could go back in time and talk to a young Kahn, what would some words of advice be? What would you say? Everything
you're about to do it. And I say that because I had plenty really good opportunities growing up, football and all that sort of stuff, but that I just pissed down the drain, But for me, I would say everything you're about to do, do it, because the life that I have now with I would have probably never met with my fiance. I probably wouldn't be the person I am, as far as like, losing that ego. And I was a bit of an angry kid growing up and stuff like that. I'd be probably still that person, where the person I am now is something that I would say all the shit, all the mud you're about to go through, you're going to be broke twice, you're going to have no money to your name, but continue, because the other side is worth it.
Yeah.
So all the fuck ups you're about to make, all those sort of mistakes you're about to make, probably like don't go broke twice, but just all those mistakes you're about to make, all those hardships you're about to face, you're going to face them head on and continue to face them head on and just keep doing that, and you're going to come out the other side with 2 successful businesses that you're continuing to grow. You're going to come out the other side of that having resilience and a know-how on how to face adversity. So, and having really good fucking people in your life as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Alrighty, last one. This will be an interesting one. I'm excited to hear your response.
Here we go.
If a rapper or an artist of any genre was to write a song about Kahn, the life of Kahn, who would it be and what would they say?
What's your age demographic again? No, I'm kidding. Okay, I would want it to be
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
That I'd want it to be Eminem, and I'd want it to be in his messed up phase, not rehab, not recovery. That album, I want it to be the one before, and it would be about training hard Tuesday to Thursday, playing all right on the weekend, and then not training and calling in sick to Monday night training. That's what, if it was around that time period, that's essentially what that would be. Otherwise, general sort of setting, it would be guy that thinks he's very good looking but isn't, and is definitely punching above his weight with his misses. So,
I agree.
I get told all the time, mate, and they don't realise how good of a bloke I am, and for that lacking skill of facial features, I make up for in banter and that's it actually. So
that's it. The occasional joke.
The occasional joke, and I'm also really good at carrying shopping bags in one trip. So,
you and me both.
It helps. Yeah, I had to start powerlifting. I had to continue with powerlifting to keep that skill. So,
back on your jokes, do you have a joke for us? Just to finish this off. I'm sure you got many. There must be too many.
I do have many. Oh, mate, my head is... I'm going crazy. It's a library. I actually know more about joking than I do strength conditioning. As far as I'm not really a joke guy, I'm more of a banner guy, and that's what got me in trouble a lot when I was a kid.
Speaking when you should
send us off. A joke to send us off. Well, not so much a joke, but I think we should take for reals. There's no weight classes in the jungle, and this is something that I say in the gym often. Rhino beetle may be very strong and can lift 7 times its body weight, but if an actual rhino stamps on it, it still dies. So it's something that I say. One of my mates, Wes Horrod, I train with, I've been my trainer with 4 years. We have this joke about that, and I always say to him, because he's pretty strong for his weight, and his testosterone is better than mine, but no one cares about that because that's for noobs. It's about weight in the bar. But he always brings it up. Always brings it up. And he benches more than me at the moment too, so it always brings that up. Which I'm going to smash him at the push-pull at the end of the year. Bit of a sneaky intro to that. But with that, he brings it up all the time, and I always talk about the story about the rhino versus the rhino beetle. Rhino beetle strong for its body weight, but against a natural rhino, it doesn't mean nothing. So,
absolutely.
Kids, you can use that at schools. 10 cent loyalty fee. So.
PayPal it.
PayPal. I'll leave it in the comments.
All righty, we'll wrap it up now. Thanks again for joining us, Kahn. I know it's early morning start. I've got to be at work in exactly 8 minutes, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm 10 minutes late, so that's good.
Yeah,
but, happy day.
I apologise. Send my love to you guys.
Thank you.
So Kahn from Against The Grain. Check him out on Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. Are you doing online training as well, Kahn?
We are, man. To be honest, at the moment, it's something that we're breaking into. So we've got platforms set up for that. We have our clientele group on Facebook. We have all our check-ins through Google Drive and that sort of stuff. We are predominantly a face-to-face business, but in saying that, I do have 10 powerlifters that I coach at the moment that are specifically online. Yep. We have 3 bodybuilders that we work with as well, 2 in Adelaide, 1 in Brisbane. So it is something that obviously that we do, but yeah, for sure, shoot us a DM and we can see what we do. At the moment, we're not looking for any more sort of general population clients because we usually take about 5 or 6 on of them at a time. But we do have a few spaces left for the like powerlifting, shot put, and bodybuilding and stuff. So for sure, reach out.
Cool. Good, man.
Awesome,
as always,
bro.
guys. Iron sharpens iron. Talk to you next time.